Oh, All-Father, I have too many jewels. Will you ask the dwarves to build me a box so that I can store them? For me sake, Freya, just hang them from the world tree.
Ladies and gentlemen, and any variations thereupon, I'm Bridget Mitchell and welcome to my YouTube channel. For today's project, we're going to be creating a jewellery box worthy of the gods themselves. That's right, we're going to create, or I'm going to attempt to create, a jewellery box / diorama. It's going to be the creation of a scene from Norse mythology, where the whole world, well, all the universe, the 9 realms, are supported on the branches of a tree called Yggdrasil. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but that's why I pronounce it. At the base of this tree, there is a pool where Odin, the All-Father, also known as Woden, removed his eye and sacrificed it in order to gain wisdom. So what I want to create is a jewellery box where at one end it's a compartment where I can store rings and earrings and things that are small, and then at the other end I want a wire tree emerging from above a sort of created pool that's going to have my necklaces dangling from it. Hopefully I'll be able to get something that looks halfway decent, something that I could put on a mantel in the room and have it display some of my jewellery along with just making a pretty box. So that's enough of me talking about it. Let's get on to the project, and the first step, as always, is to design what we're going to create. Okay, here's my basic idea. It's a rougher sketch than I'd normally do, but I was in a bit of a rush to get this one done. The tree would sit on top of the mound here. Within this would be some sort of plastic container. I've got a makeup bottle I might use. That would end up as a base for the tree being made out of wire, as you'll see. This area will be the pool where Odin sacrificed his eye. I might put a little something in there to show the eye. The surface will try and be rough and crinkled, try and make it look as much as I can like rock. All the surfaces that aren't the pool, I'm going to try and cover with some sort of green foliage. This part of the box here, only the first third to a half, is actually going to be the jewellery box. I'm going to create some cardboard inserts that will go into the front of it. That will just be the area that holds the jewellery. I'm going to have to put some sort of weighted stones or something in this side, just to prevent the box from tipping when I put necklaces on, because with that tree raised on top, once I put a heavy necklace on top of this, like my Thor necklace or my Kuiper crystal that I've created, it's going to tip. Well, it's going to tip very easily, so I need something weighted down the bottom just to try and counteract that. All in all, this seems a very simple, easy build, but let's just see how easy it's going to be. Okay, first thing we'll need to make Yggdrasil, right into wire. And we're going to take the wire and wrap it around something. It doesn't have to be spherical, as long as it's consistent down, so going all the way down. I'm going to wrap it around 36 times. Why 36? Oh, because Yggdrasil connects to 9 realms, and if I have 36 strands of wire, then I can create 9 branches, 9 major branches coming off, with enough wire left for 4 minor branches. So it would look like 9 realms are interconnected. So let's start wrapping. Now, if I cut the wire at this point, where the first one started, I'll have 36 strands of wire of equal length. Okay, what I have here is the bottom of a makeup remover bottle. It was just going to go into recycling anyway, so I thought I might as well use it, and I've drilled a series of holes in the bottom through which I shall thread the wire that will become Yggdrasil. Right, so there we have it. That's going to be the base of Yggdrasil. All 36 wires have been placed through, and the bottoms have been bent round. Look a little bit like roots, just simply to hold them in place and stop them from being pulled through. Start twisting. And at this point, I'm going to want to start separating some of the wires out. So, 4 per branch. That, roughly, I might make some tweaks, but is Yggdrasil. I've tried to do a little bit of a different sort of technique in bending the wire and twisting the wire for each branch, because each branch is supposed to go to a different realm. So I thought, let's try and represent that in different character by having each branch come off in a slightly different way. For housing jewellery. The next section, I want Yggdrasil sitting at the corner of the box with the majority of the branches facing out that way, just so when you hang a necklace on there's more space for it to go down. Also, I want it raised up slightly higher so we can have this area as the palm which houses Queen's Eye. So I need to build an extra stand on that side. this is going to be the pool where the waters from the roots of Yggdrasil sit. And how am I going to make it look like water? With bog roll. You take your brush and you break the tissue paper in the direction that the water be flowing. All that's left is to wait for that to harden. So while I'm waiting for the PVA to dry, I'm going to cut out the inserts for the actual jewellery inside the box. And the jewellery's only going to cover half the box. It's quite a big box and I don't have that much jewellery. I'm not really a jewellery kind of girl. So I just want 2 inlays that are going to cover the front half. The one is going to be glued directly into the base. The second one will sit on top and be removable. And draw a line along. And draw. Before you stick the last side on, test to see if this will fit in the box, because it's very difficult to measure and account for the thickness of the card. And so we just did measure, because with the extra width that's created, that won't slide in. For a simple acrylic paint cover. You notice I've only done 1 layer of the newspaper around. You can do more, depends on the sort of style that you want. To be honest though, you can get away with that putting any newspaper on, because, except for this plastic part, because you can just paint directly onto the cardboard. But because I want things to look natural and textured, I've used the newspaper to try and give a sort of broken, rocky outer look. So with that achieved, there's no real need to put extra layers on. Might be a bit better if you do. I'm just going to start painting things brown. we approach the Yggdrasil and around the edge of the pool, for artistic reasons I'm going to switch over towards a bronze paint. Definitely for artistic reasons and not because I'm running out of brown. But yeah, I'm hoping that it will give an effect of some sort of magic of Yggdrasil or the wisdom of the pool brightening the rock, making it bronze, but we'll see how it goes. I'm not going to wash the brush so that I can get more of a mix of the brown in with it, and as you notice I've sort of faded the brown upwards so that there won't be a line where the brown ends and the bronze begins. And I'm going to start with the bronze at the top to try and blend the two in. What I'm trying to do is blend the area of the brown and the bronze so you don't get a stark line between the two, and I'm adding in some bronze around the edge of the pool just to try and give the effect of the glowing magic from within. Wisdom of the All-Father shining through. There's going to be two parts to this, so I'm going to mix in some black with the bronze in my palette in order to create a slightly darker bronze so that I can paint in detailing into shadowed areas and things, so it's not all one monochrome colour. And then I'm just going to take pure black and do the same around the edges. If I take it around here where things have crumpled in and where the paint hasn't quite gotten, where there's still some newspaper shining through, I'm just going to make that pure black. That being the area that the brown paint didn't get to, means that that's the bit that's going to be hidden in shadow in the crags of the rock. So I'm taking the black, I'm not going to pile it onto the brush, just a small amount, and filling the bits that the creases that were missed. And you've almost got all the paint off the brush. It's a good idea to where you've got a crease in the newspaper that's not entirely been painted, well, even if it has been entirely painted, just to go wide brush over just to give the effect of a slightly shadowed area. Not complete shadow, but slightly shadowed. This is the tricky bit. I'm going to take three different colours, a dark blue, a light blue and a green. And I'm going to use them in green and the dark blue are going to be mixed together to make the deepest areas. And I'm going to go into blue and then light blue. And I'm just going to be painting the royal wipes in the direction of the ripples. So it's the same direction as I was originally painting it on, just to try and ensure that everything still looks like it's moving in the same way. And for this I'm going to leave some patches of white, some very small ones, hoping they'll look like light that's been reflected. So once all the glue on these surfaces goes tacky, then I'm going to apply reindeer moss to give it that living greenery. So it's really moss, it's actually a lichen. And there we have it. And I think that project turned out at least as well as I was expecting. The whole construction of the box basically itself was fairly simple because the box already existed in the form of an Amazon box. There was very little that I needed to add to it. It's just a matter of creating the compartments and things like that. The majority of the project was the wire tree, which was a lot easier than I thought it would be, and the actual creating the detail of the rock and things like that. And that's something I've been practiced with. Any child of the 90s growing up in Britain knows that that was an art attack at heart. Jumping straight into the ratings for this project, what would I give it on a rating out of 10 for its difficulty? I'd have to say probably a 3, and it could be even less than that. It was a 3 only because when it came to drilling the holes for the tree into the plastic, I'd chosen a makeup box that I just happened to have. I didn't want to just throw it in the recycling, I wanted to use it in some way. But the bottom was convex, which meant that drilling the holes with a hand drill that I had, not a power drill, was rather difficult. If you had something with a flatter bottom, or you had, say, a power drill or a heated wire for melting through the plastic, that would be a lot easier. In terms of the amount of time you actually spend building, it's a very quick project, it's a couple of hours at most. The thing that takes the time is waiting for all the glue to dry, especially with the pool when you put multiple layers down, because you have to put the glue on, you have to leave it for a couple of hours, come back to it, and then be dry. The way I normally work is I have a day job, and after I finish my day job I come home and I do a little crafting and recording. So for me it was a case of make a little bit, wait for it to dry while I have my dinner, maybe make a bit more, or put another coat on, and then leave it to the next day. So it took me several days, but that's the way I normally work. It normally takes me several days. If you're doing it yourself, it's a weekend job. In terms of the actual rocky surface, you could make it take a bit longer if you applied a glossy coat over the surface. I didn't apply a gloss coat, which would be something like Mod Podge or PVA glue and water again, because I wanted it to look more earthy, and I thought if I put a gloss coat over the top of it, it's going to look a bit wrong. I wanted it to look more rocky, earthy, so I didn't bother making it shine. But you could do that and then you'd have to wait for the glue to dry again. But other than the pool, the toilet paper did take a little bit longer than the rest of the project to dry. I think that's just the nature of the absorbency of the toilet paper. The newspaper dried fairly quickly. I left it overnight and it was hot again, so it dried fairly quick. The toilet paper took overnight and most of the next day to fully dry. So the project itself, it's a weekend job. If you start it on a Friday evening, you'd be done by lunchtime Sunday. In terms of its cost, well, the link for all the materials I use is in the description as always. The major cost was the wire. And what does that tell you? You can get garden wire for fairly cheap. The plastic for the base of the wire tree was something that would have gone in the recycling. If you've got old newspaper or old magazine or something lying around, you know, most of the materials for it are free or cheap. But always looking to help each other improve here, so if you've got any tips for improvement, let us know in the comments below. Let us know what I should have done differently, if you did anything differently. If you tried the project, let me know about it, share what you've done. I'd love to see. All in all, any part of this project, even if you want to do the wire tree by itself, it's a jewellery box, whatever, I recommend it's one that you can try and sink your teeth into. I'm going to attempt to create a jewellery box / diorama. It's going to be a scene from Norse mythology. It's going to be a scene from Norse mythology. It's going to be a scene from Norse mythology. It's going to be a scene from North. It's going to be a scene